All right, so we're going to do a little video tutorial here on how to drill and tap the spun rivets on a Hot Wheels car, so you can take it apart for whatever you might want to do, swap wheels or paint the body or whatever other project. So first of all, before you start any job like this, you got to have the right tools. You want to have them on hand, of course. I use a cordless drill, various sized drill bits to drill out the spun rivet heads. Now basically, you don't want a drill bit that is the same size as the spun rivet head. You want a drill bit that's the same size as the post underneath. So that varies by car. I've found for the 993 that a 9/64 drill bit works great for me. Oftentimes the post itself is mushroomed and can hold the body or the chassis on tighter, even though you've drilled that off. But we'll get to that in a minute here. So to start with, of course, first we'll drill out the rivet. I usually go very, very slowly. I don't put pressure on the drill itself. What I do is I support the car and I push the car against the drill bit as it's turning. So start very, very slowly. As you can see, we've got some good chips cutting there. That's the other important thing, is you want to make sure you have a sharp drill bit. You know, you're trying to do stuff with used or dull drill bits, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to get the results you want. So with the 993, I have noticed I haven't had a whole lot of luck with the rivet head just popping right off for me. Usually have to pry it off with a screwdriver. I don't want to drill the post so far down that it goes right through the chassis of the car. Now some guys, of course, they'll, because we're going to drill and tap the post, sometimes they'll drill the 1/64 hole for the 172 screws first, because the center of the post is pretty obvious here and it's easier. I don't like to do that because when you drill the head off, it then damages the first two threads. And I also like to be able to see the post when I'm drilling the hole for the threads, so I don't punch right through the body of the car. It gives me an indication of how deep I've gone. Okay, so we've got that rivet head drilled off. As you can see, you just get in there with a screwdriver, clean it up, it pops that little piece of metal right out of there. And then we'll go ahead and do the other side here. Again, starting very, very slowly and pushing against the drill bit with the car rather than pushing the drill into the car. And again, you can see good chips coming off the drill bit. There, that means the drill bit is sharp. I'll go a little deeper than that. And then we'll just pop that off there, clean it up. Now, here's the part where it can be tricky. If you're trying to save this wheel and axle assembly, this, as you can see, the car is still tightly held together. I suppose if I went deeper with it, you know, it might pop off, but I don't like to drill the rivet posts through the base or shorter than the base of the car, because I do like to have that to locate it later on. So it can be difficult, of course, to get the body off, especially on the 993, without bending the rear axle. If you apply enough force, you'll get her off. Of course, you don't want to twist it too much. Now, there are other ways to do this, I'm sure. There's more than one way to do one job. So the important thing here, of course, is to find a method that works for you. I'm not interested in saving these axles per se. I usually clip them and use them for other projects, for other wheels. So what I can do is get in between the body and just pop that off with a smaller screwdriver. And then there you have it. You've removed the base of the car without damaging, hopefully without damaging the chassis, the drill holes. Sometimes if you push too hard or you go too fast, you can slip the drill. The drill will walk off of the rivet and into the plastic base. And there you can see the interior of the car, the windows, which also have the integral headlights on the 993. Okay, so here we are left with a bare body in Zamac, and as you can see, we've drilled out our posts right there, and they are a bit mushroomed where they go through the body, but In test fitting in and out, they'll smarten up and go in there nice and easily. All right, so we're going to switch drill bits. We're going to go to the 1/64 drill bit now. Again, you want to make sure that this is a sharp drill bit. If it isn't sharp enough, then you're going to have problems. Now, you can't use lubrication here, like so many things in mechanical in the mechanical world. It does go better with a bit of lubrication here, and drilling is no exception. So I use a mixture of ATF and penetrating oil. You use whatever works for you. A thin oil is good for drilling. Now, if I've done this correctly, which hopefully I have, then my other drill bit was in the center of the body post, and so which means that the lowest point here that I'm going to go to is going to be in the middle of the post. Now, we want to be careful we don't drill right through the body here. I've done that before, and ultimately you end up going right into your finger, which isn't good. So again, we go slowly, applying pressure on the car, not on the drill bit. And always ensure that you clear the chips of the drill bit. You want to break the chip, first of all, by relieving pressure every once in a while. And you want to clean off the end of the drill bit to ensure that you have a nice clean cutting surface going into the car. We're not very far in just yet, so I'm going to keep going. I tend to, when I'm drilling, I look at an angle so that I can ensure I am going straight and not, crooked or sideways or something like that. Once you get the hang of this, it is fairly easy to stay straight. And even if it is slightly crooked by a few degrees, it's not the end of the world. The other thing you want to be careful is right there is we've hit a void inside the casting. This is just pot metal. So you want to remember that it can be really soft in some locations. And if you hit one of those pockets and you're pushing too hard on the car, you can punch right through. So I'll use my Allen key here to check the depth of my hole. And that is plenty. That is a lot for the size of the screw that we're going to be using. So we'll move on to the rear post here. Now, if I'm worried that I'm not going to be in the middle, I can start at a slight angle just to create a pilot dent and then straighten the drill out and then go straight on. Again, even if you find you can't do that, if the hole is not perfectly straight, it's not the end of the world. I mean, you don't want it extreme angles. You want to be as straight as possible. But we're not working with Space Shuttle here, so. All right, I'm going to check the depth of this hole. And that's not bad. I like to go a little bit further just to ensure, but I mean the screws that we're using are only 3/16 of an inch in depth. There we go, I've hit an air pocket again, or a soft spot in the casting. So that's the key. You want to go slow, because if you, there we go, that's perfect. If you go too fast, you'll hit those voids and then punch right through the car. So there we have some clean holes drilled. They look really good. They're straight on. And so the next thing we're going to do is tapping, which can be a challenge if you're not used to it. So you definitely want to try and use a bit of lube. So whatever lube you're using, just add a bit to your post holes. Okay. And I'm using 1/7/2 screws, so I have a 1/7/2 tap. The screws and the taps are readily available online on eBay. You can buy them from Bright Vision, which is where I got this tap. It works amazingly well. They also sell a chuck, a hand chuck that you can use with it. I don't like using the hand chuck. I find that the metal is very soft on Hot Wheels cars already, and so I like to do it by hand. And this, sometimes I'll help it along with a pair of pliers or something like that. But the reason why is that I don't want to get to the bottom of the hole. And with a chuck, you have so much leverage on it. I don't want to get to the bottom of the hole and continue turning and then strip all the threads out that I've just made. So there's a science to tapping. As you can see, it's not perfectly straight there in that car, but it's okay. It's going to be fine. The science tapping is, you want to go in about a turn and a half, and then you got to back out. And you'll feel it break the chip, is what they call it. That's very important because you don't want, as the tap is going in, it's actually peeling metal off of the sides of the hole. And if you allow it to peel the chip so it's super long in there, the chip has nowhere to go except to start galling up the threads that you've just made. So you don't want that. Alright, now, because I'm doing this by hand, it really does feel like I've made the bottom of the hole there already. So I'll pull it all the way out. And you can see there's the metal we cut and made the threads. So there's not very much, there's not a whole lot of threads there, so it can be very easy if you're using a chuck to strip those threads out. Alright, we'll go back in just to make sure, and everything feels real good. There we go. So that's one hole. The next one here, same thing. Try and make sure I'm going at that straight, because it is possible, even if your hole is straight, that you're not tapping straight. Alright, so you look at it at 90 degrees on one side, 90 degrees the other side, and if it's straight up from the casting on both orientations there, then you're probably good. Again, we'll back it off a bit, make sure we're breaking the chip every once in a while, and you'll feel it, like I said, breaking that chip when you turn it backwards. If you go all the way to the bottom of the hole without breaking the chip, you'll find you'll get all the way in there and then it'll feel like the thing is locked. The tap is locked there in place. You don't want that because that's how you do damage stuff. Okay, so doing it by hand, like I said, every once in a while it will get locked in there. So make sure you have some kind of a tool, either a chuck, to get in there and help you break the chip. I might be at the bottom of the hole. I am. So there we go, that's what's going on there. You don't want to put too much pressure on that, just enough to be able to turn it. If you're forcing it, then something's gone wrong. Something's gone horribly wrong. Again, it's very soft metal, and this is delicate stuff. And you can break a tap. And if you break a tap, that's it, basically. Trying to get a hardened carbon steel tap out of soft metal like this is not going to be fun. So there you have it. We've tapped those two holes. And I'll show you the screws that I use. And they are, as you can see, they're super small. Usually there's a washer you can use. Well, you'd have to use a washer with this, with the newer Hot Wheels cars, because simply the head of the screw just goes right through the base. So there are washers available online as well. And so there we go. You can test fit, and we'll see that the little button head cap screw goes all the way to the bottom of the the head goes all the way down to the top of the post on that hole. And on that hole. So there you have it. We've drilled and tapped a Hot Wheels car. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thanks.